An eternal kid is nothing but untapped potential. Like all of us, he has skills, talents, and great potential. What he lacks is the character needed to follow through and accomplish the requirements of a normal adult. He is immature, lazy, and wants to be left alone, but he does have flashes of charisma and charm that could one day be part of a wonderful man to have as a husband. The most helpful thing you can do is to help him find a great counselor who understands who he is and what he needs. He also needs a solid church and involvement with mature men. Find that church and become active in it. Then invite him to be part of it with you. God needs to become the center of his life, and Jesus needs to become the model for his manhood. He can make it. I'm going to repeat that. He can make it. It won't be easy and it won't be quick, but he can make it to manhood with your help. What could the eternal kid do to change? If the eternal kid should ever desire to change, he would need to make these changes. Number one, develop a desire to grow up by seeing himself as others see him and as God sees him. He would take a look at his strength and assets and determine to develop them and use them. He would practice doing what he needed to do rather than what he wanted to do. Number two, realize the world does not revolve around him. The world is not out to get him, nor does it need to make a place for him. He must decide not to be dependent on the world at large for an excuse to fail or a means to live. While his parents may have either ignored him, making him resentful of everyone, or smother him, making him expect everyone to cater to him, he must move out of these patterns and develop a new way of reacting to life. Number three, be proactive, not passive. He must learn to take the initiative. He can start by reaching out to his wife and children, starting to do for them what he has always expected them to do for him. He must get out of himself and into others. He should practice doing something for someone else just for the pure joy of contributing to someone else's life. This will help him discover that he can set a goal of serving someone and accomplish that goal. He should continue doing this until it becomes second nature. Number four, let go of his superior attitude toward women. A lot of this attitude comes from his relationship with his father, but his relationship with his mother may be too closely fused. If so, he needs to break the chains before he can see women in an objective light. Whether his mother was too close or too detached, his reactions to her emotions must be resolved. He probably developed other feelings about women by observing his father's treatment of women. A great counselor can help him identify false beliefs and gain new attitudes about women. Number five, develop male relationships to break isolation. Tinkering and television leave little time for developing healthy friendships. Here are some ways for him to make friends. Make a commitment to join activities that involve other men. Attend a men's Bible study. Go to some men's retreats or events. Ask his wife to invite a couple to a movie. Make the effort to get to know the spouses of his wife's friends. An older male counselor can do the most to bring the gap between isolation and connection. Snapshot summary of the eternal kid. Clues to help you spot him. Number one, is self-centered either sweetly or arrogantly. Number two, Irresponsible at the core, limits are unknown. Number 3, chauvinistic, sees men as more important than women. Number 4, lives in a dream world and does not learn from his mistakes. Number 5, has a temper and lashes out when confronted and then runs away. The woman to whom he is attracted. Number 1, is best skilled at taking care of people. Number 2, doesn't mind being used to make a man comfortable. Number 3, can cope with living in poverty during a bad spell when he is likely to be out of work. Number 4, will leave him alone to tinker, invent, watch television, or do whatever he wants. Number 5, will overlook his faults and see the potential with him. And see the potential within him. The woman who falls for him. Number 1, enjoys being in charge and caretaking. Number 2, may have been an oldest child who took on adult responsibilities very early. Number 3, mistakes his irresponsibility for playfulness. Number 4, believes it will be fun to grow up together. Number 5, is a people pleaser who hates conflict. What you can do. Number 1, don't nag or threaten like a mother. Number 2, give him a lot of space while you develop your own life. Number 3, discover what it is within you that is attracted to him and resolve that inner need. Number 4, don't compromise anything just to keep him from leaving. I'm going to repeat that. Don't compromise anything just to keep him from leaving. Number 5, expect him to listen but to be unable to understand you or empathize. What he could do to change. Number 1, develop a desire to grow up by seeing himself as God sees him. Number 2, realize that the world does not revolve around him. Number 3, be proactive and reach out to his wife and kids rather than expecting them to meet his needs. Number 4, let go of his superior attitude toward women. Number 5, develop healthy male relationships through church, accountability groups, men's Bible study, and a prayer partner. Now that was an eye-opening chapter, right? Many people don't realize that immaturity is one of the biggest roadblocks to a healthy, thriving relationship. A man who refuses to grow up cannot fully love, commit, or build a future with someone else because he hasn't even built a solid foundation for himself. If you saw yourself in this chapter, whether as the eternal kid or as someone who's been affected by one, this is your moment of awakening. Now, let's take a moment to reflect and hear from our listeners. I love hearing from you. Your thoughts, experience, and testimonies matters. Drop a comment on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Let's keep this conversation going. Wherever you're listening to us right now, you can drop a comment. Let's keep this conversation going. And here's a question from our married listener, Michelle. Queen Rakelia, I have been married for 6 years and I feel like I'm raising my husband instead of building a life with him. He avoids responsibilities, makes excuses, and expects me to handle everything. How do I get him to step up? Michelle, first, I want to acknowledge how exhausting this must feel for you. Marriage should be a partnership, not a parent-child dynamic. 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child.